Kevin Haig.
Mr Speaker, I rise to take probably a shortened call on behalf of my colleague Dave Clendon, who's followed this bill through from the start and I know has appreciated the opportunity to be part of progressing and improving a bill. And I'm sort of mindful of colleagues' comments about some inadequacies that still remain, costs that will still fall on victims who want to avail themselves of this right, for example. Green Party has had a long interest in victims' rights, and indeed it was Nandor Tanzos who led the call for a select committee inquiry on victims' rights some years ago. There are a number of aspects of our policing and criminal justice systems that are fundamentally broken. And I listened with interest to Phil Goff's comments towards the end of his contribution to the effect that we need real and fundamental change to the system. Well, we agree with that. There's an awful lot of places where we could start. So we could start, for example, by addressing the drivers of crime. We've actually done pretty poorly on that, and it's kind of interesting because in the House today we have been talking about vulnerable children. We've been talking about child abuse, and here we are now talking about crime and punishment, and actually the same things that drive poor outcomes for our kids, the same things that drive poor health outcomes, the same things that drive poor educational outcomes are the things that drive crime. And successions of governments, and I'm not saying it's this government particularly, have been poor at addressing those drivers of crime. And weirdly, the solutions to improving our crime rates are the same things as we need to do to improve our child abuse statistics, to improve our health data, to achieve better educational outcomes. We need to empower communities that are vulnerable, empower communities that are marginalised. We need to give them a sense of and actual control over their life circumstances. And we need to address the environments that surround them, the physical environments, the social environments, the political, economic environments. And there's been any number of reports on how to address the drivers of crime, and yet we are still not making those fundamental changes. We need to address access of prisoners to the educational services, to the health services that they need. We have any amount of data that says people who are in prisons have high rates of intellectual disability, of learning disability, of physical disability, sort of extremely high deafness and hearing loss rates. And yet we do nothing about that, or effectively nothing. We have extremely high rates of alcohol and drug dependence amongst our prisoners, sir. And yet we are still not at the point of ensuring that all of those people who need those services have access to the basic health services, including the alcohol and drug dependency issues and treatment services that they need. Well, what do we expect is going to happen? Of course, we're going to see high rates of recidivism, of people leaving prison unable to rehabilitate. And rehabilitation services are the next part of the puzzle, sir. That actually we have not learnt anything, it seems, from the Scandinavian countries who understand that the fundamental point of someone being in prison is to repair the relationship that they have with society, to ensure that when they come out of prison, because almost without exception they are going to, that their relationship with society will be different, so that they will not be offending again. That's another one of the fundamental changes that we need to make. But this bill, sir, addresses one of the other areas, and that's the area of victims' rights. Mr Goff commented that it's a puzzling aspect of, I guess, perhaps Westminster systems, particularly, and Simon Bridges will know the answer to this, that sees at the point that a crime is prosecuted, the offence being seen to be against the Crown rather than against the victim. And for far too long, we had a system where victims were almost entirely shut out of the picture. We have made, sir, some progress towards recognising and respecting the rights of victims. Again, there is a big way still for us to go. The particular aspect that this bill addresses, sir, is the aspect that enables the rent in a victim's life caused by the offending that has been against them to be continued by further victimisation and re-victimisation by offenders. It is obvious that this facility should exist, and the Green Party will vote for it, as we have done at all previous stages, sir. Thank you.
Ian McKelvey.
Mr. Speaker, somewhat ironic that we listened to